Jesus and the Apostle Paul dedicated their lives to the struggle to transform human consciousness and society. They looked like failures as they hung on their crosses, and yet they have changed the world as much as anyone in history. Why? Well, because they continue to open a door to the Spirit in our heart. They open a gate to the sacred way that leads through whatever challenges or wildernesses we face in this world. They put us in touch with the highest power in the universe, and millions have believed them enough to follow and find the truth of what they taught. Jesus said that the realm of God is like a tiny seed that grows into a great tree. Or it is like a grain of yeast that leavens the whole dough, or like a treasure buried in a field, worth giving all we have to gain. It is the highest law and power in the universe, and it will grow to transform the world if we let it work through us. The Apostle Paul said that the Spirit helps us in our weakness. For we do not know how to pray as we ought, but the Spirit intercedes. We know that all things work together for the good for those who love God. If God is for us, who is against us? Paul said these words, but he suffered as much as John Lewis or C.T. Vivian or any leader of the American Civil Rights Movement. Paul was jailed, he was beaten, he was in danger much of the time. Yet he was convinced that nothing could separate us from the love of God and the transformative power that God's love represents. We are here today because people like Lewis and Vivian have staked their lives on what Jesus and Paul taught. A Jewish legend says that there are 36 faithful or righteous people in every generation, both Jews and Gentiles, and because of those 36 holy people, the world continues to exist. Henry David Thoreau said, "It is not so important that many should be as good as you, as that there should be some absolute goodness somewhere, for that will leaven the whole lump." So the urgent question facing us each is, how can we be one of the grains of the realm of God that leavens the whole dough? How can our individual life or our church or our congregation or community be a mustard seed of God's realm that grows great enough to transform a society hell-bent on destruction? How can the Spirit of the universe help us to make the personal and social transformations we need as quickly as we need to make them? If God is for us, who is against us? The Spirit has been interceding and preparing humans for this day from the dawn of time. Every inspired stroke of paint or word or musical note, every prophet and saint, every faithful, loving parent who laid down their life for their child, every social revolutionary who pushed society closer to democratic ideals, every ethicist who promoted the golden rule and compassion for the most vulnerable, every enlightenment to a new stage of consciousness has prepared humanity for the evolutionary leap that we now need to make to oneness. Among the Spirit's intercessions has been the inspiration to form institutions, to pass along traditions of wisdom and models of living, and including ways of opening our hearts and minds to transformation and organizing ourselves to transform the world around us. These institutions still exist, But part of today's crisis is that the global church has been undermined by corruption and abuse. So there is now a gulf between it and the people who could use the Spirit's guidance and power. Just when we need it most, this great resource has been rendered much less effective by its own doing, really. So one of the most important tasks for the remnant that still finds the church useful is to rediscover, redefine, and retranslate the traditions, practices, and resources so that people who are alienated from it can find what they need. It will be easier for people outside the church to understand what this institution offers that could be of use to them and to society if they can see it modeled in our lives. The beautiful thing about this is that we do not have to become someone we are not. We need only to enter more purposefully into our place in life, to cultivate our own heart and mind, to be more like the heart and mind of Christ, and transform the part of the world that we can reach into the realm of God. Just that. I think often about a parishioner I knew many years ago, a 96-year-old widow in a nursing home who was blind and deaf and unable to walk. Dorothy had been a teacher, but now her life was confined to this narrow, dark silence where she lay in pain most of the time. All she wanted to do was go to heaven to be with her beloved husband, and she didn't understand why she was still on earth. One day Dorothy asked if I knew the most important word in the English language. "Compassion!" she shouted. She explained that she tried to have compassion for every person who worked at the nursing home who came within the sphere of her awareness. She tried to cooperate, to say a kind word, to be patient and loving. We can serve the Spirit and help transform the world no matter how pained or confined our life may be. And we need also to let the words of John Lewis keep ringing in our ears. He said, "When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to speak up. You have to say something. You have to do something." He said nothing can stop the power of a committed and determined people to make a difference in our society. Why? Because human beings are the most dynamic link to the divine on this planet. The Spirit of the universe interceded in human history through the actions and words of John Lewis and through Dorothy in the nursing home, both of them moving us toward the beloved community of God's realm on earth in their own ways. So let us listen now to how the Spirit wants to intercede through us, how it wants to change the world through our changed lives and through our congregation. Let us pray together in silence. Amen.